During my time off, I've had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to meditate. And that is something that I value. And that is something that I'm going to be doing more often. So I won't be releasing and producing content at a high level pace like I once did. Because the way that this sport, soccer, is evolving and the big ambition that Major League Soccer, USL, and Liga MX have, it's something that you really have to deeply examine and to fully think. What are their purposes? What are their motives? What are the cause and effects? What are the pros and the cons? I have to say, I'm still surprised about the Messi effect. I did not think that Leo Messi would single-handedly improve the state of Major League Soccer overnight. This has been an overnight impact, and it is something that I have never experienced before, that I have never seen before in American sports. I mean, you think about NFL and NBA, the two biggest sports leagues in America. I mean, I guess you can compare it to LeBron James, but it took a while. It took a little while for LeBron James to really have a major effect on the NBA. We all know it took Steph Curry a while too. NFL, you had a guy like Michael Vick, but that was a process. It wasn't an overnight change. It wasn't an overnight effect. College football, you had a guy like, Reggie Bush, Vince Young, but in that league too, it's still a process. None of those effects have been an overnight dramatic change like Leo Messi in American soccer. Because the thing that made the Messi effect greater than the LeBron, the Steph, the Reggie Bush effect, the thing that made Messi's greater, it has affected an entire continent. Not only a local college campus, not only a local city, not only a state, not even a country. The Messi effect has affected Canada and Mexico, in addition to the United States of America. And when it comes to sports history, this is something that I have never experienced in my entire life. So, with that being said, the state of Major League Soccer is looking really good right now. But there are still some things that I don't like. And that star players continuing to leave in the middle of the season. And I'm going to keep saying this because I have to. Star players leaving a league to go to another country in the middle of the season, that is unacceptable amongst American sports fans. Soccer fans, yeah, they're fine with it because, they believe that you got to bow down to Europe. So American soccer fans, they're not bothered. But real sports fans, like me and other people who are still on the fence with Major League Soccer, that is unacceptable. And a lot of people think there's nothing that MLS can do about it. Well, soccer fans believe that there's nothing MLS can do about that. I disagree. One thing that Major League Soccer may have to consider is moving the regular season to the fall. Because I don't see the salary cap making a big increase within the next 5 years. It's currently at 5.2. I don't see the salary cap jumping from 5.2 to 50 million within 5 years. Even with the Messi effect. I just don't see that happening. You look at NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. They're all of them are above 100 million when it comes to salary cap. MLS is still under 10 million. And I don't even see them getting to 50 million by 2028, within 5 years from now. Even with the Messi effect. So, listen, I don't know how Major League Soccer is going to, if they're considering moving to the fall, but in order for that to happen, every team needs a pro soccer stadium. That means no more sharing stadiums with NFL. That means Seattle got to get their own stadium. Chicago got to get their own stadium. Atlanta got to get their own stadium. And if you're Atlanta, if the NHL is not considering that location in Alpharetta that's been offered to them, I think that's something that Mr. Home Depot should consider. If the NHL doesn't want that location in Alpharetta that's been offered to them, Mr. Home Depot should consider acquiring that land for Atlanta United. Charlotte needs their own stadium. And speaking of Charlotte, if you're a Charlotte fan, I think you should have legitimate concern about the future of that club. Especially how the owner, David Tepper, how that situation that took place in South Carolina about that practice facility, entertainment, that piece of land somewhere in South Carolina. I forgot the name of the place. I think it's near Spartanburg or something like that. But it's not too far from Charlotte. It's like a certain city that's in South Carolina that's near Charlotte. He was supposed to get land there, but things didn't work out the way he wanted it, and it just hasn't been good. But Charlotte's gonna need their own stadium too, in order for MLS regular season to take place during the same time as NFL and NBA. Now, I was one of those guys that once thought that it was impossible, that it was a bad idea for MLS season to take place during the same time as NFL and NBA. But what I come to realize is that America is not a one sport country. Not everybody are diehard NFL fans. Not everybody are diehard NBA fans. Major League Soccer can take place during the same season as NFL. No doubt in my mind. But I'm going to have to talk about this in another monologue. Because honestly, this is the only way I can see it's either two things in order to keep your star players in America. You have to increase the salary cap exponentially, or you move your regular season to the fall. Your season takes place during the same time as Premier League season. There's only two options. So I'm going to talk about that maybe sometime in 2026. No, sometime after 2026. I'll talk about that again. So now, the main discussion. So MLS is back this weekend, as in MLS regular season. Match day 27. The LA boys won't be playing this week because of weather. Hurricane might be going through Southern California, which is unheard of. I never really heard of hurricanes going through Southern California before. I thought that was just a Florida thing. Florida, South Georgia, South Carolina, Eastern Carolina type of thing. But it's Southern California this year, which is just kind of odd in my opinion. But it is what it is. So this is it. This is the time of the year where we find out who is serious about making the playoffs and who is not. You know, the few games that will be played in August, you teams that are above the playoff line, or you teams that are serious about making the playoffs, you should use the last month of August as warm up. You know, get yourself back into playing shape, because a lot of you that got eliminated early in the Leagues Cup, like Seattle, LA Galaxy, Atlanta, y'all have had some time off for a while now. But come after Labor Day, that'll be either match day 31 or 32. It's going to be go time for everybody. So some of you don't have, y'all can't afford making mistakes. Some of you can't afford to settle for draws. And one of those clubs that can't afford to settle for a draw is International Miami. Now, one thing I want to say is this. If International Miami manages to make the playoffs from being dead last right now, it will not be because Major League Soccer helped them. Because looking at the current standings in the East, I see 6 to 7 teams that International Miami can surpass in order to get an 8th or 9th seed. I repeat, I see 6 clubs right now that are ahead of International Miami that Miami can surpass to secure the 8th or the 9th seed. All International Miami have to do is take care of business. Don't focus on what other teams are doing, but just focus on what they're doing. That same chemistry trust, and skill that they have gained with Messi on the club just translated over into MLS regular season. Now, International Miami, this is something that you have to keep in mind. MLS competition during this race to decision day is going to be more fierce than Leagues Cup. This race to decision day is going to be much more aggressive than Leagues Cup competition. Why? Well, because there was a lot of MLS teams who didn't really take Leagues Cup. Well, let me make sure I say the right word. They did take it serious. But there is a lot of teams where winning Leagues Cup is not on the top of the priority list. It just wasn't. But when it comes to MLS playoffs, MLS Cup playoff qualification, it is a top priority for a lot of teams. And a lot of coaches and people in the front office are going to lose their jobs this offseason if they don't qualify for MLS Cup playoffs. Why? Because Apple TV benefits. You see, Apple TV has made it easier for teams to make the playoffs. So it's a really bad look on your organization if you miss the playoffs this year because they expanded it. More opportunities are available. And here's another thing. There are now playoff series. It's no longer one and done. There are playoff series. So there is more money to be made by MLS clubs in the playoffs. This is why a lot of people in MLS front offices are going to lose their jobs if they don't make the playoffs because their clubs are going to be missing out on a lot of Apple TV playoff revenue. This is why playoff qualification is a top priority for a lot of MLS clubs over winning Leagues Cup. It matters. So it's going to be tougher, International Miami. But all you have to do is just take care of business. Focus on yourself. You take care of business and you do what you're supposed to do, you will clinch an 8 or a 9 seed, no doubt in my mind, or even higher. Because there are 6 teams. I'm looking at the standings right now as I'm talking. There are 6 teams that I'm looking at that you can surpass. I'm not going to say who those teams are now. But there are 6 teams that I see that you can pass. Because these 6 teams, I'm not sure about them. But one of those 6 teams that's not on that list that I see you surpassing is San Jose Earthquakes. And it's not because they're in the Western Conference. This is because this San Jose team is letting us know that they are returning back to get some respect. They're returning back to the team that was once amongst the respected, one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. You know, San Jose, let me tell you something. At the beginning of this season, I told you that we are going to put the pressure on you all season long. San Jose, you get a pass for that Leagues Cup elimination. We understand. We understand. But look here, San Jose. You didn't win. In addition to not winning Leagues Cup, you didn't win US Open Cup. You didn't play in the CCL because you didn't qualify. When it comes to Supporter Shield, we know you're not going to catch up with Cincy. So that's 4 trophies that you're going to miss out on. So now the expectation is nothing but playoff qualification. And once you make the playoffs, the expectation is going to be championship for you to win it all. Because listen here, San Jose. This is one thing you need to understand. Once you make the playoffs, it's a brand new season. Everything that was done in the regular season, you throw it out the window. Regular season is a season of its own. MLS Cup playoffs is a season of its own. And here's another thing, San Jose. Having playoff experience this year doesn't matter. The reason why it doesn't matter, because this is a brand new playoff format for everybody, San Jose. So because this season is a brand new playoff for everybody, everybody's going to be participating for the first time. So playoff experience doesn't matter this year because of the brand new format and everybody trying to adjust to this brand new format for the first time ever. This is why you have an advantage. So it doesn't matter about whether you face LAFC or LA Galaxy in this year's playoffs. That doesn't matter. Because this is a brand new format. Experience in the playoffs this year, for this year only, doesn't matter. So San Jose, are you going to fulfill the obligation and the expectation? Are you going to exceed the expectation? San Jose, isn't this year the 20th year anniversary of your championship, the latest championship you had back in 2003? Isn't the 2023 season the 20th year anniversary of that 2003 championship season? San Jose, how about you bring back that 2003 nostalgia? That 2003 championship spirit. Bring playoff soccer back to the Bay. Or in slang terms, people like to say, run it back. They don't say bring it back. They say run it back. But in soccer terms, how about we say kick it back? Let's kick back playoff soccer to the Bay. And when I say playoff soccer, I'm talking about playoff soccer in a real professional soccer stadium. The San Francisco Bay doesn't have that at the moment. There is no other professional soccer team that can bring real playoff soccer back to the Bay besides you. Because you have the real pro soccer stadium. You have the biggest and the best pro soccer stadium in the San Francisco Bay. So how about you kick back championship soccer to the Bay this year? Bring back that championship nostalgia in the 20th year anniversary of that '03 championship. As a matter of fact, San Jose, how about you win it all? Because I already told you, this year playoff experience doesn't matter because this is a brand new format for everybody. So basically, everybody who makes the playoffs this year, this will be their first time ever making the playoffs in this new Apple TV playoff format. Experience doesn't matter. All you gotta do is just make it, San Jose. Here's another thing, San Jose. Clinch a top 5 seed. Because you clinch a top 5 seed, it's guaranteed that you will host a playoff. But even if you clinch the 7th seed too, because I believe after the 8th and the 9th seed, they play their wild card series. Then the winner of that series go on to play against the 7th seed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But hell, no 7th seed. Sounds like clinch at least a top 5 seed. If you get a top 5 or even a top 3 seed, it's guaranteed that you'll be able to host a playoff soccer game. That's what we want. That's what we need. You're a legacy club, San Jose. Look, I know the spotlight is on International Miami and Messi. But Major League Soccer wants their legacy clubs to succeed too. MLS wants their legacy clubs to be more successful than the newer clubs because it's a bad look when the newer clubs are performing better than the legacy clubs. So MLS wants you to be successful, San Jose. But how bad do you want it? San Jose, I'm looking at the standings right now. Austin, Seattle, and Salt Lake City are not better than you, San Jose. I repeat, and this is not a hot take. Austin, Seattle, and Salt Lake is not better than the San Jose Earthquakes. San Jose, you're just as good as those teams. With or without Cade Cotwell. With or without Cade Cotwell. The expectation doesn't change, San Jose. I'm still expecting you to get that top 3 seed. Because when you get a top 3 seed, it's guaranteed that you will definitely host a playoff soccer game so you can kick back playoff soccer to the Bay. So you can bring back playoff soccer to the Bay. So let's get this championship '03 nostalgia. Let's get it started in week 27. Against Vancouver, MLS After Dark special. 2 teams that are 1 point apart from each other in the standings. San Jose, 32 points, 6th seed. Vancouver, 31 points, 7th seed. You're playing against a Cascadia boy. How about you send a message to the Cascadia boys? Let Vancouver know that you are not surpassing us in the playoff seedings, in the standings. And then you let Seattle know that you're coming for them. They're currently at that 4th seed. Look, San Jose, I told you. during that time, that stretch in June or May, when you first played against LAFC at the 49ers Stadium, that it was go time. You did really well during this time. Now, it's bringing back that 03 championship nostalgia. Bring it back. You got it in you. You got it in you. And you did a good job preserving yourself for this moment. Now it's time to let it all out. Now it's time to go wild. Now it's time to go crazy. Now it's time to dominate. Now it's time for you to embarrass opponents. And to let you know, and to let them know that every time you play against San Jose, your team, as in the opponent, will experience an earthquake. You're going to demolish that team that you play against. From now through decision day. Because I told you, this playoff time, this year, in this season playoffs, experience doesn't matter because it's a new Apple TV format. The Texas boys. Texas soccer is dead and boring. Texas soccer is dead boring. On the MLS side, that is. USL? No. Texas soccer in the USL is kind of interesting. And if it wasn't for Leo Messi, I would have been watching more USL between San Antonio, El Paso, and Rio Grande. It's fierce amongst those three in the USL. MLS? I don't know what happened to Houston. Houston was on fire, and they have gone cold. I don't know who poured a bucket of water on that fire that Houston had in June. I don't know who poured a bucket of water, but that fire is gone. Dallas, I don't know what the hell happened in that Leagues Cup against Messi. That was very embarrassing for your organization. The way you just malfunction in the second half of that Leagues Cup match against Messi. That was very embarrassing for your organization. And you need to get your pride back. Because Messi snatched it out of your soul. Austin, from the sounds of their new GM, it looked like they're getting ready to rebuild. So I will be surprised if Austin doesn't fall below the playoff line sometime between September 8th through October 8th or 10th, because I think there's gonna be another MLS break in, I think, October 10th, because we got Nations League coming up in the middle of October. That's why Decision Day is pushed back to the 21st this year because of Nation League. So MLS is going to take a break during that time. But Texas soccer is dead boring. I'm calling all three of y'all out. Dallas, Austin, Houston. All of y'all are dead boring right now. Hopefully that'll change. Hopefully y'all prove me wrong. And y'all actually do something during this final push to Decision Day. Chicago Fire. After your loss to Club America at SeatGeek Stadium, when the water bottle incident went viral, the video of fans, people throwing water bottles at you as you were leaving the stadium, I laughed. I thought it was very funny. because you deserve it. Hopefully, Chicago Fire, you use that as a wake-up call. You use that time of embarrassment as a wake-up for you to say no more. Nobody will ever embarrass us on a soccer field ever again. You see, Chicago Fire, this one thing you need to understand. Those people that was throwing water bottles at you, those were not Mexican immigrants. Those were residents of the state of Illinois. And they were letting you know that you're trash. That's what they're basically letting you know. The people of Illinois don't respect you, Chicago Fire. The people of Illinois don't give a damn about you. You have more Liga Mex fans in Chicago than you have Chicago Fire fans. For a lot of those people, their first time ever watching you play was because Club America was in town. So Chicago Fire, you gotta use this decade to win the city. The city don't love you. If you go out of business today, Chicago Fire, the city will not care. The city will not care. So I hope that you use that water bottle incident as a wake up for you to say no more. Nobody is ever going to disrespect us like that again. And how do you prevent people from disrespecting you like that? You win. You win and you dominate. That's how you do it. You want to win the city? You want to win the state? You want more people representing the Chicago Fire than Liga Mex during the League's Cup? You dominate. There is no reason why Chicago should have the lowest attendance in Major League Soccer with the amount of Latinos in that state, in the state of Illinois, with the amount of Latin Americans in that state. There's no reason why Chicago should be low in attendance. It's ridiculous. Chicago, what did you do in the last decade? Because I wasn't watching Major League Soccer between 2010 and 2020. What did you do in the last decade to cause people to be so disrespectful towards you? What did you do? But whatever you did, use this decade to correct those mistakes, to erase bad habits. And it starts in match day 27. This might be Kai Kamara's last set of games with you, because he did originally say he wants to go play for Coach Nancy, Wilfred Nancy. So I believe he may be a free agent this offseason, this winter. So he may be taking a road trip down I-65 towards Columbus this winter. The best thing you could do in regard for him, put him in position to surpass Landon Donovan in the second all-time of goal scorers. Because if he enters the history books, you also enter the history books, Chicago Fire. Because he'll be doing it as a member of the Chicago Fire Football Club. So that's one thing you should keep in mind, Chicago Fire. You want to use every opportunity possible, Chicago Fire, for us to become more familiar with you, for the MLS world to become more familiar with you, for notoriety. It's going to help you win the city. And you know what else is going to help you win the city? Playoff soccer in the Windy City. Now, because you share stadiums with the Bears, playoff soccer for you might end up being at SeatGeek Stadium, which is a better stadium for soccer than Soldier Field, in my opinion. Soldier Field is the better location, but SeatGeek is the better soccer stadium. I'll tell you the same thing I told San Jose. Kick it back. Bring back playoff soccer. Kick back playoff soccer to the Windy City. That will help you a lot. You currently got that 8 seed. Hold on to it. Try your hardest to stay above that playoff line, because Chicago is going to be very hard for you to hold this, to stay above this playoff line. It's going to be very hard. Miami is coming. New York City is coming. Montreal is very sneaky. Montreal is one of those teams that may catch somebody off guard. They may catch 2 MLS teams off guard to get that 8th or 9th seed. I can see it happening. Montreal is very sneaky because a lot of people are not paying attention to Montreal. And they're right at that 10th seed in the East right now. I think Montreal may sneak their way into the playoffs because a lot of teams are not paying attention to them. So Chicago, you can't afford to overlook anybody. So it's going to be tough now. But try your best to hold on to that 8th seed. And if you can get that 7th seed to avoid the wild card round, even better. New York City Football Club. You know, there's a lot of things that I can really say about you. You know, you're one of those MLS teams that really annoys the living hell out of me. And the reason why you annoy the living hell out of me is because you underachieve too much. You play average when you're not supposed to be average. You're better than being average. Then there's times where you play just terrible. And we're just watching you like, why is this team playing like this? This team is way better than this. New York City, why are you below the playoff line? I was one of those people who alluded to, you know, you not having a replacement for Tati Castellanos as the reason why you're playing bad, but that's not true. You had other players that should have stepped up. But I like what you did. The players who didn't step up like the way they're supposed to, you got rid of them. So this second half of the season, this final push towards decision day, we're going to see a totally brand new NYCFC roster. It's going to be full of guys that want to represent New York City. That's what I'm looking for during the second half of the season. New York City. Who wants to represent New York? Who desires to help New York become one of the greatest teams in Major League Soccer? Who wants to be that guy that says, I am New York? Because when you think about New York sports in general, there's not really a guy that's like that. There's not really a guy who says, I am New York. You don't have, look at the NBA. The guy who was supposed to be from New York, the guy who is from New York, that many was hoping to be that guy. He went to Dallas. The other guy, he went to Phoenix. When it comes to basketball. Then for the other team, they got decent chemistry, but there's nobody who is that guy. Is it Saquon Barkley? He's injury prone, so it can't be him. There's not a guy. So, New York City, this second half of the season, I'm looking for that guy. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be one guy either. It can be a collective group of guys. Who wants to be in New York? Because one thing I don't like players that uses New York City Football Club as a transit club. I don't care that New York City Football Club is owned by City Football Group and that Manchester City is the biggest club in that family. New York City Football Club is not a transit club. New York City Football Club is not a drive-by club. New York City Football Club is not a pit stop. New York City Football Club is eventually going to be one of the biggest brands, not only in Major League Soccer, but in the world. You don't believe me? Well, just watch and see. I hope all of us are alive. Sometime in the 2050s, the 2040s, the late 2040s, early 2050s. I hope all of us are alive around that time. So we can see. So this second half of the season, that's what I want to see. Who wants to be the face of New York sports, man? That's what the city of New York is lacking. That's why New York sports haven't been winning much championships, man. You don't have players that want to put the city on their back and say, this is my city. Who from New York City Football Club is going to be that guy? That's what I want to see. Not some guy who is going to play well there. And then, once he starts receiving text messages from his favorite European club, he starts throwing attitudes and saying he don't want to be there no more, that he's greater than New York, that he's greater than Major League Soccer, that Major League Soccer is below him. That's not the kind of guy we need in New York City. And those type of people should be banned from New York City. That's how it used to be in New York City. If you disrespected New York City by saying, I'm bigger than New York, well, fans will get you out of town real quick. That pride is lacking in New York sports because you don't have players that want to be New York. So New York City Football Club, that's what the main thing I'm paying attention to this second half of the season. Who wants to be New York? Who wants to represent Queens? Who wants to represent the Bronx? Who wants to represent Staten Island, Manhattan? Who wants to represent Long Island? Who wants to be New York? The LA boys. LA Galaxy. You still have enough time to get it right. LA Galaxy, it is not too late for you to hit the start over button, to hit the reset button, the restart button. Diego Fagundes needed a change of scenery. Fully, for you, LA Galaxy, the water in Carson is much cleaner and it tastes better than the water in Austin. LA Galaxy, just because you're at the bottom of the Western Conference does not mean you can't make it to the top. I don't think the issue with LA Galaxy is front office. I have never thought that this entire season. There is not one time where I criticized the LA Galaxy front office, because based on what I have been seeing on the field, it's the players. Lack of chemistry. Lack of pride. Not having a strong desire to win. I strongly believe that a lot of the LA Galaxy players, they either don't know what it means to be a G, or they forgot what it means to be a G, or they just don't give a damn about being a G and they're just collecting a check. I think my third option is correct, and it stands out the most. That there's a lot of players who don't give a damn about being a G and they're just there collecting a check. And that's the kind of thing that annoys me. That's the kind of thing that will make me say some things that's the kind of thing that will make me say some offensive things, but I'm not going to go there. Because you have the most you're playing for the most historical franchise in Major League Soccer history. And it just seems like you have a roster full of players who don't care. They're just looking out for themselves as long as they're getting their check. You know, as long as they're able to drive their nice cars, you know, buy their nice shoes, you know, go to the Lakers game and take a picture with LeBron James, you know, go to the LA Rams game and sit down with all the celebrities, you know, they're happy, they're satisfied. But let me tell you players something. You saw how Miami changed their roster overnight this summer, during this summer transfer window. It's going to be LA Galaxy's turn this winter. So a lot of you players right now, I'm letting you know, these final games and this from tonight, from match day 27 all the way to decision day, a lot of you players, this is going to be your last time being a G. So a lot of you are basically, you should take these matches serious, because you're basically auditioning for a new team, whether that's another MLS team or you'll finally be able to go play for your favorite European team. You know, this is your time. You're basically going to be auditioning, because this roster that we're seeing right now, come this winter, I'm talking about as soon as LA Galaxy season is done, whether or not they make the playoffs, their final game in 2023, I'm talking about the next day, LA Galaxy is going to be working. You see, the summer transfer market was for Miami. The winter transfer market is going to be for LA Galaxy. Last summer was for LAFC. This summer was for Miami. This winter is going to be for LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy. It is very important that you remind us who you are this decade. A lot of us wasn't watching Major League Soccer between the year 2000 and 2010. A lot of us wasn't watching Major League Soccer between 2010 and 2020. For a lot of people, including myself, from 2021 until now, this has been our first time watching Major League Soccer. So we don't really know. We're not really familiar of how good you once were. And a lot of us don't care This is why it is very important that you use this decade to remind us, myself included, who you really are. Because this decade, more people are watching Major League Soccer than ever before. And as of right now, in a lot of our minds, we think that LAFC is the premier team of the West. Before Leo Messi came, we were all thinking that LAFC was the face of Major League Soccer. LAFC in Seattle. So you have to use this decade to remind us who you are. And it starts in that locker room. You need guys similar to what I said about New York City. You need guys that want to be a G. Not guys that's only collecting a check. And definitely not guys that's using LA Galaxy as a pit stop. LA Galaxy has never been a pit stop before. And there's no way in hell I'm gonna sit down and watch LA Galaxy become a pit stop club. Oh, no, no, no. That's not gonna happen. Now, the club that's not a pit stop club in Los Angeles. The young boy that's full of ambition. But at times, their ambition gets the best of them. That forces them to make bad habits. LAFC. You know, LAFC, I really don't have much to say to you because you're the real revolution. You're the one that's forcing change in Major League Soccer. And to be honest, if you didn't bring in Gareth Bale last year, I'm not sure if we'll have Miami. I'm not sure if we'll have Messi in Miami this year. I just don't know. You were the one that have set the tone. You have been the one to respond to our cries that we want Major League Soccer to be major, not amateur. You have been the one, LAFC. It started with you. You're the real revolution. You're doing what New England is supposed to be doing. But they're not. And speaking of New England, real quick, whenever they get that stadium along the Mystic River, they should change their name to Boston FC, because you're not revolutionizing a damn thing. LAFC is the real revolution. But the thing, and I don't know if it's starting to become a disease or what, but losing to the Mexicans in championship matches. Whenever you play against a Mexican team in a championship match, you fall, you fold. And I can't even say you choke because you just do, you do things that you normally don't do. Like, you blow leads. You don't blow leads against MLS teams, LAFC. But for some reason, when you go against Mexican teams in championship matches, you blow leads. You either blow leads or you just get blown out. You just play bad. In this decade, you are 0-2 in championship matches against Liga MX. You lost to Tigres in the CCL championship game in 2020. This year you lost to Lyon in another CCL championship game. And then in the quarterfinals of Leagues Cup, you lost to Monterey. It was supposed to be an all MLS Final Four in this inaugural Leagues Cup expansion. But LAFC blew a lead for some reason, for some strange reason. LAFC, listen, the sports gods love you, LAFC, because you're getting another chance to get it right this year. This is your third chance, LAFC. This is going to be your third chance. The Campeones Cup is going to be your third chance to get it right. I don't know what it is about the sports god that loves you so much, LAFC, where you keep getting chance after chance after chance to finally get it right against Liga MX, but you're getting a third chance this year. Remember what I told New York City Football Club last year? That the second half of their season, that their playoff run started in the Campeones Cup against Atlas, and New York City took word of my advice, and them winning the Campeones Cup propelled them to qualifying in the playoffs, because New York City was actually pretty bad reaching that point. And they seem like they always play better in the second half, it seemed like. Back in 2021 and 2022. They always seem like a good second half team. My same message for you, LAFC. Because last year you were a second half team too. At one point during the second half of 2022, we thought that the supporter shield was Philadelphia Union, that Philadelphia Union was going to win it all. But you just came out of nowhere with a huge second half push. LAFC, I want to see that again this year. And your playoff is going to start in the Campeones Cup on September 27th against Tigres. You see, this year's Campeones Cup, LAFC, is going to be more important than you qualifying for MLS Cup playoffs. Let me explain to you why. You see, LAFC, you have already mastered MLS competition. You have not yet mastered Mexican competition. And you have bigger ambitions than just being the best soccer team in the United States. You want to be the Royal Madrid of North America. You want to be the face of CONCACAF. But in order for you to do that, you have to overcome the kryptonite, which is Liga MX. Liga MX is your kryptonite. Whenever you play against a Liga MX team in a championship title game, you fall. You have fallen in 2020. You fell again in this year. 2 times. Now, even though the quarterfinals, it wasn't a championship title match against Monterey, but Monterey was the brick wall that prevented you from facing Leo Messi in the Leagues Cup title. That's what a lot of us wanted to see. We wanted to see LAFC against Leo Messi in the Leagues Cup final. Sorry, Nashville. Sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But we didn't want to see you against Messi. We wanted to see LAFC. But the Mexicans, they created another brick wall, and the LAFC shield shattered on that brick wall that Monterey built. Let's break the brick wall in the Campeones Cup on September 27th. So we're going to try this again. The celebration. The party that was supposed to take place in the CCL title back in June 6th. We're going to try it again on September 27th. You know, Magic Johnson and Will Ferrell, they're going to talk to the celebrities again because, you know, You got to convince them to come back, but yeah, they're going to convince them to come back. You know, they're going to convince the LA Times and TMZ and the media. Maybe there will be a pregame hip hop concert. We're going to try this again, LAFC, for the Campeones Cup. The game will start on time this time too. It's not going to be, because it's going to be on Apple TV. This is an MLS Liga MX match. So we're not going to be in another situation where where the game's going to be on FS2 and then 30 minutes later it goes back to Fox. It's not going to be that situation again. It's going to be right this time around. Everybody's going to show up, LAFC. We just need you to show up this time. I'm not concerned about your MLS play, because I know you're going to take care of business when it comes to MLS play. I'm going to talk about you again when we get close to the Campeones Cup. Because it's time. It's time for you to break through that Mexican brick wall. I'm sick and tired of seeing you run into Mexican brick walls. Let's end it in the Campeones Cup. So, I'm not going to talk about you again until we get closer to the Campeones Cup. Last but not least, I'm going to close this monologue talking about the Atlanta United Football Club. Atlanta United. There's some people in that organization that didn't heed my warning since last summer, when I was telling you that International Miami was a sleeping giant. The giant is awake now. And they're coming for your crown, Atlanta. They have already won a Leagues Cup title. So they're one championship away, or two championships away from catching up to you. US Open Cup, MLS Cup, or CCC title, because they're already qualified. The people in that organization that have not heeded my warning since last summer has been the players. I know a lot of you like to talk about the front office and how the front office is not doing their job. How about you become a New York Red Bulls fan? You want to talk about front offices that are not aggressive, front offices that are not striving for excellence? How about you Atlanta United fans take a look at the New York Red Bulls and then come back and see how good you got it? How about you fans go look at the Seattle Sounders front office, the Portland Timbers front office, Philadelphia Union front office, and then come back and look at your front office, and you'll see how good you got it. See, a lot of you fans are still spoiled from the 2017, 2018 seasons. You guys are just spoiled. This front office, their issue is not recruiting. It's not lack of talent. Their issue is, maybe it's similar to New York. Finding players that want to represent ATL. And maybe this is an MLS issue. You have a lot of players who are treating these MLS teams as pit stops. And once they get their text message from their favorite European team Once their favorite European team starts reading them bedtime stories, they now think they're above and bigger than Major League Soccer. When they fail to realize that the main reason why these European teams are recruiting them is just to fill in, to fill a gap, to temporarily fill a gap until they get the main guy that they want from another European league. That's what it's really about, but I'm not going to get too much into that. The players are not doing their job on the field. The front office is doing their job. The front office is recruiting. They're doing their job. The issue at Atlanta United is not the front office. It's the players. The players lack chemistry. The players lack trust. And there's a lot of individualism. A lot of players on Atlanta they're showcasing their talents for their favorite European team. They're not playing as a team. Atlanta is not united. And it's getting to the point where I think that we should just call them Atlanta FC. Because there is nothing united about this club right now. These players do not play united on that field. You look at Miami. Miami is actually the United club. We could call them International Miami United. Switch the names. Call Miami United, and call Atlanta International. That's what they really are. There's nothing united about this Atlanta Football Club. Nothing. It's a roster full of players that are looking for themselves. It's a roster full of players who don't represent the South. It's a roster full of players that don't want to carry the shield of the A. And they don't understand what it means to represent the A. Atlanta United, during this second half of the season, you need to study the Atlanta Braves. You need to start going to some Atlanta Braves games because it's the second half of their season too. They're getting ready for a playoff push. But excuse me. Sorry, Atlanta Braves. I mean, they're pushing for a championship run. You see, Atlanta United, the difference between you and the Braves, you're fighting for a playoff spot. While the Braves, they already have a playoff spot. You see, the Braves are not thinking about clinching a playoff seed. They're thinking about clinching a championship trophy. You see, when it comes to representing the A, the Braves are the standard. It starts with the Braves. It doesn't start with the Georgia Bulldogs. It doesn't start with the Falcons. And we all know it doesn't start with that basketball team. You see, the Braves kind of used to be like you, Atlanta United. The Braves used to be a team that was satisfied with clinching their division and just making the playoffs. And then once they made the playoffs, they used to get bounced out of the early rounds. You see, they were arrogant. They're thinking, we won the division, so we made it through a long, 150 games in the regular season to play good. We have a bunch of good pitchers. We can hit a couple home runs. Playoffs should be nothing. But they didn't realize playoffs in American sports is a totally different season than regular season. And the Braves prided themselves on winning the division. Now, Atlanta United, Let me explain to you why winning the division was once and still is important for the Atlanta Braves. You see, when you look at Major League Baseball in the South, there's not a lot of professional teams in the South. There's only like three in the Southeast. Braves, Marlins, Rays. You look at other regions in Major League Baseball, most of them are like in the Northeast and the Midwest. So the Braves have been the baseball face of the South for many, many years, and even up to this day. And in the division, the NL East, majority of the teams are in the North. Mets, Nationals, Phillies. In the South, only two. Braves, Marlins. But then, Miami in general, I don't want to sound disrespectful to. I'm not coming across as disrespectful to, Americans that live in Miami, but Miami is not true Southern culture that Americans identify with. The Miami South is more so Latin America, more so Latin American culture. Atlanta is that true Southern culture. Atlanta is the capital of the South. So all the traditional Southern baseball fans in the South, they look up to the Braves. They look up to the Braves to defeat the North. So whenever the Braves win the NL East, it's not only a victory for the Braves, but it's a victory for the South. South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina. I don't know about Mississippi. Mississippi might be Houston territory. Or maybe it's split in half. The Braves got northern Mississippi and the Astros got southern Mississippi. But whenever the Braves win the NL East, it represents a sign that the South is better than the North. This is why the Braves cherish winning the NL East so much. This is why the Braves treat winning the NL East as if they won the World Series. A lot of people in the media, they like to make fun of the Braves and they question the Braves. Why are the Braves always popping champagne in the locker room whenever they win the division? You don't see the Yankees popping champagne when they win the AL East. You don't see the Dodgers popping champagne when they win the NL West because they're focused on World Series. Winning the NL East for the Braves it's like a mini World Series for them. Because what you people in the media don't understand is whenever the Braves win the NL East, it's a victory for the South. And it's basically the South used this to let the North know that we're better than you. And we will continue to be better than you. That's why winning the NL East is important for the Braves. And also winning the NL East solidifies the Atlanta Braves as king of the South. So the next time you see the Braves popping champagne because they clinched the NL East. Just keep that in mind. Winning the NL East is bigger than baseball for the Braves. It is a victory for the South over the North, because you got majority of the NL teams in the North. Then you got Braves and Miami in the South, but Miami is more so Latin American culture. So the Braves is that only true Southern culture in the South, in the baseball sector. So when the Braves win, baseball fans in the South are telling the North, we beat you again. And we're going to come back next year, and we're going to beat you again. Whenever the Braves win a series, a regular season series, like a 3-game, 4-game series against the Mets, the Nationals, the Phillies, it matters. It matters. So when you look at Atlanta United desires, well, the front office, Mr. Home Depot, they desire to be the king of the South in the soccer sector of this Southern economic industry. But they don't have players that matches that same desire as the ownership group. That's the first issue. The second issue, the competition in the South for soccer, Mr. Home Depot, is much more tougher for you than the Braves. Because the Braves, they're the only traditional Southern team. They don't have it. There's not a team in Nashville. There's not a team in Charlotte. There's not a team in Birmingham. But for Atlanta United in MLS, you got Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, Nashville. And all of them are coming after you, Atlanta United. They don't like the fact that you have bragging rights as king of the South. They're coming for you, and they're coming to take your crown. You have 2 Southeast teams playing in the League's Cup title tonight. I mean, that played tonight. 2 Southeast teams that did not involve Atlanta United. And Mr. Home Depot, you can't be happy about that. I know you're not happy about that. I know you're not. So I'm calling out the players. Who wants to represent the A? Who really wants to represent the A? Who is willing to put their European fantasies to the side during this final month and a half? To be honest with you, it's only 1 full month left. You're playing a little bit of games in August. You're only playing, 2 or 3 games in October. So really September is the last month. So that's why I said a month and a half. Who is willing to put their European desires for the last month and a half to secure an Atlanta United spot in the playoffs? Because listen, Atlanta United is not a legacy club, but it could become a major flagship club for Major League Soccer, because Atlanta United has the largest fan base in Major League Soccer in terms of attendance, in terms of ticket sales. Atlanta is a major revenue generator for Major League Soccer. And with this Apple TV playoffs, Atlanta United is needed in this year's playoffs. It is bad for Major League Soccer when Atlanta United is not in the playoffs. It hurts the Major League Soccer bottom line when Atlanta United is not in the playoffs. So similar to I said with New York City, I'm looking for guys who wants to represent the A. Similar to say I'm looking for guys in New York who wants to represent New York. It's the same for Atlanta. Diego Almada, Miles Robinson. We know you guys are not coming. We know you guys will not be back in 2024. We know. How about you leave Atlanta as legends? You leave Atlanta as legends by giving Atlanta United another championship. That's what we want. That is the new standard in Atlanta. The Braves. The standard has been set by the Braves. I repeat, the Georgia Bulldogs and the Atlanta Falcons do not set the standard. The Braves, the Atlanta Braves, Major League Baseball, they set the standard for championships in Atlanta. The Braves have moved on from just winning the division. They're no longer satisfied by just winning NL East. Atlanta Braves is now about championships. This decade for the Atlanta Braves is about championships now. Look at them right now. Best record in Major League Baseball. They're sending the message. Atlanta United. Look, the Braves are showing you how to do it. They're showing you how it's done. They're setting the standard. That's what I say. You have some time. You have some time during the second half of the season. Go watch some Braves games. Study them. Because they're setting the standard for you. I want to see an Atlanta United redemption during this final month and a half, and including the playoffs. You're going to be in MLS After Dark action tonight in the Great Northwest against the Seattle Sounders, one of the most historical teams in Major League Soccer, a prestigious MLS club. How about you give us a reason to stay awake? How about you give us a reason to stay awake for MLS After Dark tonight in Seattle? Give us a reason to sacrifice some hours from our sleep schedule as we prepare for work on Monday morning to watch you play Atlanta United. No more settling for draws. Look, this is not only for you. Any MLS team that is serious about making the playoffs, no more draws. You have between the month of February through July to get as many draws as you wanted, Atlanta United. Draw season is over. It's all about wins now. Give us a reason to stay awake for MLS After Dark tonight. Do it for us, Atlanta United. Atlanta United. How about you give the MLS world a notice? Let us know that Atlanta United is back. If you are not sick inside of your stomach that you're not in that Leagues Cup title game, then I don't know what it is that will motivate you. The front office, the coaching staff, they're doing all they can to put you in the right position to win championships. You the players, y'all got to do your job. Everybody else is doing their job except y'all. You don't have to be a great coach to succeed in Major League Soccer or soccer in general, in my honest opinion. You don't have to be a great coach to succeed in soccer. If you're truly united, where's the chemistry? Where's the trust? I don't see that from you players. Let me see it tonight in Seattle, Washington, during MLS After Dark. You go up there and you dominate them. Look, within this decade, you could catch up with them when it comes to historical achievements, man. You are going to be playing in a prestigious environment, Atlanta United. How about you soak up some of that prestige and dominate that team? You beat that team badly. Because that team's front office is not as they're not as ambitious as your front office. Atlanta United, give us a reason to stay awake for MLS After Dark tonight.